Hello everyone. Today I want to share some insights about how aspirants can best utilize these last few days. These days are emotionally vulnerable days for aspirants. Particularly for history, it is very challenging because it is difficult to revise everything. Then, what you should do in these days? See, first formula for this is revise. And what you should revise? You should be sticking to notes and materials you are familiar with. And in different components of history, you have to revise some very relevant tables. For example, in modern India, you have to revise annual session, Congress annual sessions. You have to revise different wars, treaties. For example, Anglo-Maratha War, Carnatic War, Anglo-Mysore War, Punjab Wars, and different treaties associated with them. You have to revise some conferences, some important commissions, constitutional acts. So these tables given in your spectrum, I hope you know this. These tables are given. Suppose you have a table related to caste movement. You have a table given in a spectrum related to tribal movement, peasant movement, socio-religious reform movement. So, in these days, you should revise these tables, particularly those tables mentioned in your spectrum. This should be your first task. Second, you should revise the chronological development of freedom movement, particularly from 1885 to 1947. There are many development. For example, in 1946, there are many development. So you have to revise it. So the second task for you should be to revise those chronological development of freedom movement. So in modern India, I recommended first revise all those tables. You can use your spectrum. And second, chronological development. And I repeated that you should revise your material only. You should revise your notes only, notes you are familiar with. In ancient India, you should revise treaties, right? You should revise, in ancient India, you should revise terms. In ancient India, you should revise some terms mentioned in your NCERT, right? Suppose there are many terms related to South India, Sangam history, right? So you have to revise those terms. You have many terms related to Buddhism, Jainism, Saivism, Vaishnavism. So there are many sects. So you should revise those terms. Whatever you have highlighted in your NCERTs, so you can revise those terms in ancient India. So in ancient India, I said your approach should be to revise terms. Your approach should be to revise those places related to different kingdom, different chapters of, suppose, Indus Valley civilization. You have many Indus Valley sites, where they are located, what all are the typical features. If you have some tables, if you have some material on that, you can revise that. In medieval India also, you have some battles, right? So you have to arrange those battles in a chronological order. Then you have to revise those headquarters related to regional kingdom, right? Suppose Hoysalas, what was their headquarter? Suppose Kakatiyas, what was their headquarter? Right? So those less known regional kingdom and their headquarters, you have to revise properly. Otherwise, right, it would be difficult to remember it in examination hall. So in medieval India, you have to revise these, you can say, places. And in medieval India, kindly revise those administrative terms related to Sultanate, terms related to Vijayanagar, Rashtrakoot, Palas, all those terms, particularly administrative terms, economic terms, would be very relevant for us in medieval India. So, in medieval India, all the battles you have to arrange properly in a chronological order, and then some administrative and economic terms you have to revise. Then come to culture. Culture would be challenging. What to do in these 7 days? In culture, you should revise all those current development in culture. Fine. Suppose Rudreshwar temple was in news. Suppose Konark temple, Jagannath temple of Puri was in news. Fine. Suppose Sankh Lipi was in news. So whatever compilations you have, or whatever compilations you have, you can say revised till now. So you can consolidate that. So in culture, you should revise current best, you can say, material properly, right? Rest, you don't worry. Fine. So key in these 7 days, coming 7 days would be to revise and revise again. Fine. And I recommended you should focus table-based revision. Fine. Now, in these 7 days, what you should not do? First, you should not use new material. So, first recommendation is no new material. Second recommendation is no mock test. Mock test would be detrimental to your morals. So no mock test. And third, no negativity. No negativity. You have to believe that whatever you have prepared is sufficient. You have to trust yourself. You have to, you can say, believe that you can do it in this attempt only. And you should not entertain irrational negative thoughts. What kind of negative thoughts? For example, suppose you have covered Shekhar Bandhopadhyay and you have not covered spectrum. So this thought will come, this idea will come that probably I am not prepared this time because I have not covered spectrum. So this kind of fear should not come. You should not entertain this kind of fear. Whatever you have done would be sufficient. On that basis only, you have to attempt this exam. Believe me, you can do it. Thank you.